Hey guys, Maiva the Radiant here. Thank you so much for tuning back in to another episode of Edit with me. We're back, baby. It took me a couple of weeks. Your girl's been a little bit tired and overwhelmed. But we are back in business. This tutorial is going to be a continuance of my last tutorial, how to create a seamless backdrop in Photoshop. This one is going to be a bit more intricate and a few more steps on how to create that seamless background from scratch, pretty much. So you want to emulate the background that you already have, not necessarily distort or move anything, but just emulate that look. So I'm going to show you how I went from this image here with the messed up background to this seamless, flawless image here. We even retained the shadow, baby. We did that, okay? A little disclaimer before I get into this tutorial. I am struggling with my allergies, so if you hear me sniffling, sneezing, doing any of that good stuff, just know that your girl is going through it. The pollen in Georgia is constantly choosing violence, okay? And one other thing that I wanted to mention, I feel like it's so important to say out loud, is that if you need a break, if you're going through a dark time, an emotional time, whatever the reason may be, take the break, man. Clients can't wait, friends can't wait, the family can't wait. Always put your mental health first. Like, I cannot stress how important that is. So if you need a sign or a reminder, I am the person telling you and reminding you that you should take a break. Like now, like you could turn the video off and just go take a break. No, okay, all right, I'm gonna stop talking, guys, and let's get into this tutorial. So the first thing that we're going to do here is go ahead and select the subject before we copy the background. So we're gonna go ahead and head over to our magic wand tool. Apparently it was taking me a little while to find the magic wand tool when I did this tutorial, so bear with me. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and select the magic wand tool, and then we're going to click on select subject. So if you have an updated or the latest version of Photoshop, then you can use the select subject right at the top right. Just follow my mouse at the top right of the screen there, and it's pretty amazing. Like, it does a great job of selecting the entire subject, including hairs and everything. I'm telling you, technology is just getting better and better. But yeah, just gonna go ahead and click on that select subject. It takes a little second for it to fully process, and boom, we are in business. So what we're gonna do now is quickly go ahead and, well, actually, I guess I was zooming in to show you guys how great it was. I've been struggling with these voiceovers, but we're gonna get through it. But yeah, this is how seamless the selection is. Like, even the little hairs on the side were selected. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and duplicate our background. We're not going to do Command J and create a new layer, because that's not what we want. We want the selection to still be there and be able to be masked. So we're going to drop it and copy our background. And then we're going to just simply add a mask to it. So we're going to go ahead and name that subject so that we know what each of our layers are. The next thing we need to do is create the same thing for the shadow, because you guys see there's a shadow right there by her right arm and her leg, and we want to make sure that we retain that shadow. So we want to go ahead and create that, select that shadow so that it will not be disturbing our process. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command J this time to create a copy of the background layer. And then we're going to use the lasso tool here to select the shadow. So when selecting the shadow, you want to go ahead and select a little bit outside of the shadow. You don't want it to be like tight, like mine was way too tight. So I had to do that over. You want to make sure that it's a little bit outside of it. Don't be afraid of taking more space than you feel is probably necessary. Like, it's all going to work out in the end. These are all non-destructible like actions, it doesn't disturb the image. So now that we have our shadow selected, we're going to go ahead and add a mask to that too, in order to be able to work on it later. So once we've added that mask, we're going to go ahead and change the name. We're going to name it Shadow so that we have everything in order. Now that we have all of our selections, what we need to do is go ahead and create that seamless background, baby. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new layer so that we can create the background. Duh. I'm having way too much fun with this. Then we're going to go over to the gradient tool. That's what we'll be using today to create that seamless backdrop. So you're going to go to the far right color first. Make sure that your sampling size is 5x5 average or 3x3. to make sure that you're sampling a color and not a point. So what I'm doing here is I'm sampling the lightest color that I can find on the right side. I don't want it to be white, I still want it to be nice and mocha, but I'm going to select the lightest color. So I'm just playing around, finding the color that I like most, and that's what I'll be using. So I've gone ahead and done that. Click OK, and then we're going to go to the left side of the gradient and select the darkest color. So we've done that. Click OK again, and we're out of there. So now to add the gradient. So you're going to add it from the right to the left. And if you have a MacBook, you want to go ahead and hold down the shift key so that it is a straight line from the right to the left, and just drag that over just like that, and boom. It's really that easy. If we wanted to leave it there, we could, but obviously we selected our shadows because we want to make sure that everything is seamless. So we're going to go ahead and name this background seamless before we move on to fixing the shadow. I am a firm believer in naming my layers so that I know what I'm doing. I'm keeping everything organized and I know what to go back to whenever I need to. So now that we are done with this backdrop, the next thing we need to do is work on the shadows. So as you can see, the shadow is sticking out. It's not really working. So we're going to need to go ahead and work on that and make it seamless. The first thing we want to do is change the blend mode. Shadows get dark, so what we're going to do is change it to multiply. So now that we have the shadow as multiply, as you guys can see, it's really just popping out. It's not blending with the background. In order to adjust the color, we're going to go ahead and strip it of the color first in order to have like a plain canvas to work with, pretty much. So what we're going to do is hit Command Shift U in order to desaturize the image. So if you have a MacBook, you're going to go ahead and hit Command Shift U, and as you can see, it took away all of the colors for that specific area. Now that we have that, we need to work on the curves. I told you guys this is a tedious one. So you're going to go ahead and add a curves layer. Once you have created the curves layer, we're going to need to clip our layer in order for anything that we're doing as far as like editing only sticks to the shadows. So go ahead and create your curves adjustment layer. And then at the bottom right there, I don't know if you guys, you see my mouse right there, you're going to go ahead and clip your layer in order for it to only focus on the shadows. So if you click on that, it's going to clip the layer, and you will see right next to the mask there's going to be a little sign there to show you that you have clipped that layer. That right there, exactly. So go back to the shadows, and now we're going to manipulate it. So if you're coming from the right, you're going to go ahead and make the shadows lighter. And if you're coming from the left, you're going to go ahead and make them darker. So this is where you get to play and kind of figure out what it is that you want out of this image. So right now I'm just playing around with that. The more I bring the whites down, you're going to see the edges kind of fade away. We are definitely going to go back in and smooth the edges a bit, but right now, as you can see, the edges are completely gone. And coming from the left side is making the shadow darker. What we can also do here in order to make the shadows even more seamless is to lighten the shadow itself. So you see I'm selecting that layer right there, and I can go ahead and play with that and make the shadows lighter or darker. Just depends on what it is that I'm looking for. So a lot of it is just, playing around and finding what you like within this, specific image. So the next thing we need to do is fix that color. We need to fix that color, but we're going to fix the edges of that first. So first thing we're going to do is go back to that shadow layer and select your brush tool, making sure that black is at the foreground color. And then I'm going to go ahead and smooth those edges up a bit. Not too much, because we did, I think, a pretty good job smoothing the edges by manipulating the curves adjustment layer. But we're just going to go ahead and smooth that out a little bit before we move forward. Once we are done fixing those edges, we're going to go ahead and create a hue saturation layer in order to fix the color of the shadow. So as we did in the curves layer, we're going to go ahead and add a clipping mask to make sure that our changes are only focused on the shadow itself. And then we want to go ahead and colorize this layer because we're already taking the color away. So we want to make sure that we're bringing color back in. So right under the lightness, you see the colorize, make sure you check that so that you are actually adding color back into what you're doing. As you see, the saturation automatically went down. And it's giving you like this red because that's where the hue is. So you're going to manipulate that in order to find your perfect shade. I like to increase the saturation so that I can find my right shade before I fix that up. So right now I'm just toggling and playing around, trying to find the perfect shade. You're not going to find the completely perfect shade without manipulating the saturation, but you can get pretty close. So right now I feel like I got a pretty decent color, so I'm bringing down the saturation so that it is seamless with the backdrop. And you're just going to keep playing around with that until you find your sweet spot. I think that this is pretty good for me. My hue at about 42 and my saturation at about 18 to 20 is pretty good for me because I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and like adjust my shadow in the curves layer. So that works for me. At this point, we're kind of pretty much done. There's so many other things that you could do if you needed to. You could add more texture to the background. If the subject's face had more texture, the way that I'm going to be editing it, I'm going to be smoothing out her face, so it won't have that much texture. But if, for example, everything else has texture, but the background is seamless, it looks really weird. So you could go back and add texture. If you guys want to see how to do that, let me know. I can make a different tutorial specifically for that part. But right now, I'm not going to do it. I'm very satisfied with where we're at. I'm probably going to just adjust that shadow a little bit. But I'm very satisfied with the end result so far. So the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and group all of these layers so I can do a quick before and after and see how the image is looking, compare the shadow to the original shadow and see how I like it. So as you can see, my shadow is a bit lighter than my original shadow from just, the raw image. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and tap into that curves adjustment layer and fix that shadow up a bit. So as you can see, I'm just playing with the darks here and just making it a little bit darker and playing with it until I am happy with that. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it for this tutorial. I know my voiceover is a bit of a struggle, but I hope that this was helpful and that you were able to follow along. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I will be more than happy to answer those questions for you. I really enjoyed doing this and showing you guys this method. And I use this method quite a lot, so I hope it is helpful to all of you guys. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.